what we've been waiting for. Unbelievable timing on that. And it's the Tigers straight away. Game. Elliott. What a start.
Welcome to the Ultimate Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to Insight Fantasy Sport NBL edition. We're doing our weekly review. We're going live. People are chucking comments in already, which is fantastic to see. As always, we're brought to you by The Standard Squeeze. Make sure you use our promo code INSIGHT15 to get 15% off all your products from The Standard Squeeze. Also, a massive shout out to Ryan from Astute in Newstead. Make sure you hit up Ryan for all your home loan needs. Make sure you also let him know that the boys from Insight sent you, and he will take care of you like he takes care of everyone. Mate, there's a lot going on, but I need to introduce my legendary co-host, SC Mattrix, Matty O'Brien. How are you, mate?
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely pumped after a big weekend. Ended up having some 11 a.m. hazies, and I tell you what, I was ready for an afternoon nap. I'll give you the drum. I ended up brushing Hammer. He asked me to go around, but I was asleep.
There was a lot of back and forth chat with us, with our teams. Our teams have all taken a slightly different journey, which makes for some interesting chat. Hammer, yours went on a bit of a different journey as well. But how are you, mate? Have you reviewed up well?
Mate, I am exhausted. I spent the last round of basketball going through the 7 stages of grief with Taron Armstrong, riding the highs of Milton Doyle, and getting shit on by Denzel Valentine. So I'm lucky to be here right now.
Denzel Valentine ain't getting anything on February 14th. I can tell you that for damn sure. But look, 100%. It wasn't as bad as having the C on the skinny chef himself, Mr. Cook, which I know a lot of people had. But we'll get there. There's a lot to get through on this show. We're going to go through some breaking news. And by breaking news, there's a lot of going on in the news. I think my exhaustion has come from being on the Twitter sphere and going a little bit crazy in that space. We're going to cover how our teams did go. We're going to do this week's Squeeze of the Week. And I tell you what, we got the best players in the land in our league. Make sure if you haven't joined it already, 680-481. We're going to go some short Supercoach reviews of every game. We're going to check out how our community team is going. We're going to mention the upcoming schedules and what we're going to look at when we target our teams. Early trade thoughts. And, of course, answer all and every questions that get dropped in the comments. We are going to maybe just bring in some questions at different points throughout the show. We'll definitely make sure we get to quite a lot of them at the end as well. Who's taking the mantle for breaking news? Matty, Hammer, who's taking it?
Oh, look, we could call it breaking news. We could call it breakers news. Yeah, whatever you want to do, because New Zealand Breakers signed Anthony Lamb, who's a 6'6" small forward who last played for the Golden State Warriors as an injury replacement for Justinian Jessup. Hammer, tell me why he's not the only Lamb getting love in New Zealand at the moment.
Yeah, it's fitting, isn't it? They've obviously had their eye on a Lamb, like most Kiwis, and I don't know if Justinian Jessup's pelvic injury is Lamb related also, but yeah, they've signed him. It looks like there's a bit of a shake-up. Perhaps after the play of Parker Jackson Cartwright, they've decided to start him and maybe need a bigger guy in the lineup. So in comes Lamb.
Speaking of other news that's around there at the moment as well, we've been talking a lot about Bang Bang and Bar Bar, but Bangers himself has got himself in a little bit of hot water, but there's a little bit more to this story. Matty, you've dived into this one a little bit. What have you heard from your side, and what do we want to get out to our listeners?
Well, Hammer looked into it a bit more, but basically what I saw was he was elbowed in the throat by Latmayan from Cairns. It wasn't called. He was uncontrollably furious. Like the man looked like he got those crazy eyes. Anyway, everybody was holding him back. You know, all the little guards were trying to hold him back, which made him look even more huge.
Like
but yeah, it was wild. And then Hammer, just let us know what happened like afterwards, because not only did he get thrown from the game, but what happened at halftime?
Yeah, so they've gone through the race back to the rooms, and Nissan Arena out of all the stadiums, it's one of the only ones where both teams go down the same tunnel. And you could see on the coverage, there was still a bit of, jawing going on between Baines and whoever had listened to him. But reports are coming out. There's been a statement made by Stu Lash, who's the basketball operations guy with the Bullets, saying that Adam Ford has waited outside the Bullets change room for Baines, and that's spurred on some kind of physical altercation. So NBL's put out an official statement that nothing more is going to be said until they've reviewed footage and stuff, but there's some potential implications for Baines owners, and have a look in that space as we hear the news over the next week.
It's a big breaking story. It's going to have some repercussions as well for some lineups, and it's going to have obviously a bit of fallback into Supercoach as well. So we'll make sure that we bring everything that we hear and every way in which we think that will help you with changing your team and what that looks like. As I'm pretty sure, I'm right in saying Brisbane's coming up to a pretty nice schedule in regards to Supercoach land as well. So we got to make sure we cover that. We'll help you every which way that we can. But to get a bit of gloating out of the way first, let's have a look at our teams and how they've gone. And I'm going to turn to you first, Mr. Mattrix, up in that top left-hand corner. How did your team go? Run us through it.
Mate, pretty disappointing, to be honest. Look, put the C on Creek, which turned out all right. Started Sam Menenga, which didn't turn out all right. Started Tyler Cook. At least I didn't captain him, if there's a silver lining. Started Ben Ayre instead of Luke Travis. Well, I suppose that cost me 1 point. It did actually cost me a matchup. I see David Bryson in the comments there. He towed me up in our league by a grand total of 1 point. But yeah, I sort of had my Jalen Galloways, my Kyron Galloways, my Huck Porties, my Luke Travis all score more than two of my starters. So I had the right team. I just probably started the wrong guys, to be honest. Got 279, which has made me drop 780 spots back to about 1,000th. So,
what about yourself, Hammer? What did your team toss up this weekend? This week, I should say. And what's it looking like?
Yeah, I pulled 309, which is, looking back, it's a case of what could have been, but it's also not as bad as it could have been either. So I had a bit of luck with bringing Cummings in. He had a 48 or a 49 in the second game, which helped. Milton Doyle went bang in the second half of his second game, which helped. But yeah, I was a Cooks owner. The injury, not playing the second game, hurt. And Captain Valentine, which is probably the biggest regret of my entire life right now.
We did talk about him a lot. We talked a lot about him on this show. I think it's sort of coming to fruition. We need to start to see him put up some points, I think, to give some of the owners a little bit of love in that space. I was lucky enough. I had the captain on him as well, so it wasn't fantastic, but I was able to pull in a nice little 334, which has me sitting 506 at the moment. So I'm sitting in the top 2%, which was nice after taking a bit of a risk on the trades. So I obviously didn't have Cook. I had Valentine with the C, Galloway putting up a nice 58. I did have Cook as well, so being able to put up that score with Cook's 10, I was pretty happy with. Jalen Adams getting me a nice 68. Doyle getting me a nice 65. Pretty happy with the bench as well, which was the Travers. Aldrich wasn't too bad either. Antonio actually put up a decent number, but he'll be getting moved this week with Cairns roster coming up. And Henschel was pretty quiet. But happy with where I'm sitting and looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah, love it.
Let's go with our squeeze of the week. And I love getting excited for our squeeze of the week. For those that have been listening here, welcome back. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome along. We do our squeeze of the week, which is the top score of the week from our league competition. Our league is filled with absolute legends, so it's not easy to get your hands on one of these squeeze packs. Our winner this week goes to Tim, who's the coach of the Backdoor Bandits, with a total score of 409 this week. That was the 11th highest score in the competition. He's also sitting 34th overall. So, Tim, make sure you slide into our DMs, and thanks to our sponsors from the Standard Squeeze, we will be sending you a Standard Squeeze pack.
With a name like that, could you just slide into Rob's DMs, actually? And also, could you explain the basketball terminology behind Backdoor Bandits for us, Rob?
I think it's just got a lot to do with just the backdoor into the gym to make sure you're putting up a lot of shots and getting fourth in the league competition scores, mate. That's all I'm reading.
I'm glad you jammed that one in.
Moving right along. Also, a massive congratulations to Oscar, of the coach of Giddy to Play. He's sitting at the top of our league at the moment, and he's sitting 4th overall in the whole competition. That's right. We got the 4th overall sitting at the top. We had the top scorers last week in the whole competition. If you haven't joined our league, join in. You might as well try and win the weekly prize, 680-481. It's unlimited. Get involved. I think it's time to move into the reviews of what was a fantastic product to watch. I can tell you what, crowd levels were high, and it was also matched by the quality that was on the court. I want to kick things off to you, Hammer, in the Melbourne United versus Tassie Jack Jumpers game. Jack Jumpers getting up 80-75. What'd you see out of this one?
Yeah, look, as a Tassie supporter, it was good to get the win. Saw a little bit. Doyle, he was missing a lot of shots early, but he looked good. They were wide open. He's benefiting big time from Crawford. So I really like what Doyle's going to put up going forward. I'm holding him. And Crawford looked the goods at 277. He's really finding his role there. And what I like about Tassie for once is the big guys are playing big minutes. So yeah, a lot to like out of that game.
It's the 6 assists for me that I sort of didn't see coming from Crawford. It's just those extra points. Like, we knew that he could score, and 18 points there. But yeah, it's the 6 assists that was the surprise to me, and that could, I suppose, get me over the hump a bit later on in the season if I need to add him. So
I wonder if you took
easily turn into 10 if guys would hit a shot. Like, Doyle missed some bunnies. I'm really liking what I've seen with him.
Is there an element there a lot down the stretch as well? They were playing the high pick and roll. You could see they were trying to get that matchup with Bubbles, who I quote, can't guard his own shadow from you, Hammer. That one's ingrained in the head. I enjoyed that. Is there a little bit of an element there where you could see them doing that? Is that where the assists come from, or do you see that just happening game in, game out now between Crawford and Doyle, handling the ball, putting up the shots at the same times? You can see these two just putting up numbers every week.
Yeah, I think they're going to work well together. It's a big change from the last 2 years where you had Majet, who was not that offensive threat. So when Doyle was quiet in the first half, Crawford was shaking, baking, doing his thing, and he draws so much attention because he's such an offensive threat that guys are getting wide open, and you can't help off either guard position now. It's going to benefit both of them, and the scores will show that.
Now, we talked a little bit about Marcus Lee. Now, we said we weren't talking about Marcus Lee. No one's talking about Marcus Lee, but we did. What did you see from that, Matt? He sort of started all right, but then got very quiet as this went along. He only had 18 minutes as well. Are you still strong on looking into the possibilities, or is it just to watch this space for now?
I think this is a good team to be a guard on. Just the way that they're playing at the moment, I just think Marcus Lee just isn't getting a lot of run. I suppose he's going to come down in price, and if that changes, him coming down in price will probably help the decision to getting him on later on in the season. But right now, I'm not interested.
Man, so the biggest problem is just the foul trouble. I think he played 8 minutes in the first game, or 12 minutes, and maybe 18 in the second. And he's been in foul trouble the entire time. I don't see it. Even if it changes, when Magnay comes back, they're going to split that role. Right now, they're dropping to Krislovic to play some small ball, but if he could stay out of foul trouble, he'd be okay.
We better talk about Melbourne United, because this was only their only game this week, was this one here. I'm pretty confident in saying. Matty Dellavedova still finding a way to get some Supercoach points. He had his 21, albeit this time only scoring the 5 points. Huck Porty as well with his 21. Travers getting the 22. Are they still the 3 names to kind of look at this team, and the only names to look at, or is there anyone else people should be looking at to go forward with Melbourne's schedule coming up?
No, I think they're the guys, unless Goulding goes on a massive streak, but I don't have faith in a shooter like that. Yeah, it's got to be Delhi, Huck Porty, and Travis. Ian Clark played 27 minutes, which is probably one to watch. He played 5 minutes more than Delhi, which is concerning for people who have Delhi. But I nearly think that they almost cancel each other out, to be honest.
I'm only holding Huck Porty and Travers. I think while the schedule's good, the next 3 doubles in a row, if you've got them, you got to use them. I'd probably be looking at bringing them in if you don't have them, just because of the schedule. But after that, you got to look elsewhere and have an exit plan.
So the schedule is 3 double game weeks in a row. We call it a triple double game week. So it's about as good as you can get. It's probably as good as anyone will get this season. So
yeah.
I feel like I've gone completely off schedule as well. I'd like to thank the NBL app for completely throwing me off there. So sorry to everyone listening along. What lovely fans we have right now who not one person wrote, "You've stopped at the start of the wrong game." We'll move back to the first game of the week, which was New Zealand versus Brisbane. I appreciate everyone. It's been a long day. We're 3 hours behind here in Perth. We're 2 hours behind some others here in Perth. Just give me a minute to compose myself, and I will get it back on track. But to my lovely co-host, thank you for not calling me out. I appreciate it.
I can't believe you missed lunch an hour ago. So
yeah, Matt, I'm not even gonna lie. There is half a roll sitting right there. I'm low on substance. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, guys. Let's go. New Zealand versus Brisbane, 84-89 in favor of Brisbane. I'm gonna pull myself together. Throw it to you, Maddie, because you've got the jersey on. What did you see out of this one, mate?
Shannon Scott was really good. Probably didn't get the assists that I'd hoped, but 17 points. Sobey took over. Look, Chris Smith isn't the Supercoach guy that we thought he was going to be. Rocco Zikarsky, for anyone who was holding him, it's time to go. But I suppose Bangers was all right in this one, but we won't be talking about him, I think, for a little while. But yeah, look, the Bullets were impressive, and I wonder if we maybe could have won our next game as well if Baines didn't lose his shit. So,
man, how can you go through that whole thing and not talk about Sobey? Do you want to have another go?
No, I was just gonna let you have a. I was just leaving you something to talk about because I'm excited. Have a look at this man right here.
Yeah, look, 49 Supercoach points.
Huge.
24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. The guy was everywhere. And I think we are starting to see what we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, the benefit of Sobey playing more of that 2-guard role. Having Shannon Scott as the traditional point guard has just unlocked him. He hasn't got the responsibility anymore of running the team. He can just get out and transition, attack the rim. And with this schedule right now, this week was a double-double, single, double-double. Whatever you want to come up with that for a name. But he's one of the most relevant guys right now.
Dizzy is what I call that.
Yeah.
He's got to be the most added guy this week, doesn't he?
100%.
100%. I think he's got to 100% be the number one added player this week. The question I have, and we know New Zealand's got their all thrown around schedule. We talked about off the top with the breaking news of Lamb getting recruited. What does that mean for the 2 hyphenated guards, McDowell White and Jackson Cartwright, Hammer? Do you see this sort of disrupting them a little bit or playing into their hands?
Look, this was the first game that they were both available and played together. I think leading into the season, we were expecting Parker Jackson Cartwright to play that Barry Brown role from last year, like a 6th man, come in, add some instant offense. But I think he's just been too good to do that. So they're going to play them both together, I'd say, which meant Jessup is the pelvic injury, who's now been moved aside. And we'll see the 2 guards play together. So I'm high on both of them, but Parker Jackson Cartwright, you'll get him next week before the price rise or round 4, and he's almost a lock for me.
Matty, can I throw something to you quickly? You talked about Rocco off the top, but if Bangers gets suspended, is Rocco relevant then all of a sudden at his price?
No, I think Tyrell Harrison becomes relevant at his price. Tyrell Harrison was 130K. He's probably going to go to yeah, I saw that, Phil. He's probably going to go all the way into some bigger minutes, and I think Zikarsky might only see 10 or 11 minutes. So I would probably look to Tyrell Harrison, who appears he's got that backup role. So
beautiful. We move on to. I feel like I've got my schedule in order now, but I hope so. Anyways, we'll get all the round 2 games done. I promise. We're going to move on to Cairns versus Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Bit of a shock here. In my opinion, Cairns getting up 87-80. I'll go to you, Hammond, to kick this one off. What were your big takeaways from this game?
My big takeaway was Bobby Klintman. Like Alex Sarr has been getting all the attention as, the potential number one pick, the best next star. Klintman has come to play. This guy dropped 42 Supercoach points off the bench. He was looking the goods, scoring all over, assists, blocks, rebounds. This is a guy who was 115K, looking at a price rise this week. I think it went up about 30K, but this is a target.
So he's got 2 weeks off now because he's going over to the States, but could be the most added guy after that. What's that, round 5? He could be the most added guy in round 5. He cost my man Menenga some minutes.
Yeah. Although Menenga's played limited minutes both games, all 3 games. He's just been productive in 2 out of the 3. But yeah, Klintman's going to be a good downgrade target to free up some cash leading into those return games for Cairns.
What do we see from Southeast Melbourne? Obviously, Creek came out of the bullet out of a gun and really started going. I was very nervous with my trade, him being in there and moving him out this week. Still finished with 25 Supercoach points, 20 points, 8 rebounds, got a steal, was quite efficient as well, which is something you want to see. Him and Cummings seems to be the ones that keep putting up the numbers for Southeast Melbourne. Hammer, what did you see in that one?
Yeah, I held Cummings. That was good. I'm surprised that he's still having the impact he's having and the ball in his hands with Gary Brown back. I don't know if they're just easing Gary Brown into it or what, but Cummings has been good. Cooks wasn't that disappointing. Just, my God. What do you last, 10 minutes?
12 minutes, but and looked good, had 4 rebounds in his 12 minutes. Look, he's always going to be good when he's out there. But and then couldn't make the second game. He should be right for next week. But that's the end of his double game weeks and goes into a single week. Could be a trade out target for me.
They're talking the return of Alan Williams being imminent.
Yeah.
Do we try and offload Cooks now? I think that's the way I'm going to go. I'll throw that one out to the group. But
for me, it's a lot. Yeah, for me, it's a lot. Cook is out. Huck Porty's in. That'll be my move. I don't have Huck Porty at the moment, so I know there'll be a lot that sort of have that dilemma of what to work out. For me, it's an easy one. It's a pretty simple move, I think, and then I'm going to work it around from there. Throw it out there. I'm going to throw it out to the community as well. We might move on. Really intrigued for everybody's thoughts from a Supercoach type competition and something that they might look at. You have the captain on Cook. He gets injured in his first game of a double game week. Does the captaincy just move to your vice captain for the second game? So if you put a VC on a vice captain, what are your thoughts there? Big shaking of the heads from the group.
No, you're done. You've done your dash there.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Yep. We can probably bring up a couple things in our next game, but one I wanted to bring up was Sam Wardenberg. Look, got 14 rebounds, didn't shoot particularly well from the floor, but probably just one to watch. Probably a better fit beside Bobby Klintman there. Just looked really good. Looked like the Great White Hope out there. So. Loved it. Loved to see him out there. He's huge too.
So we'll move on. We've got Tassie versus Sydney next. Tassie getting up 80-72. We've talked about their players a little bit. Crawford obviously stepping up again with 27. McVeigh with 25. Doyle with 27. I'm talking Supercoach points obviously right now. From a Sydney perspective, Jalen Adams just exploded in that second half with 35 Supercoach points. Tui, Valentine. I'm going to throw to you first, Matty. I'm going to hammer first a couple of times. Concerns for Sydney, the way they sort of mix the points around a little bit, or what do you see from their side of things?
Look, when I watched them play in the preseason and I watched them against Melbourne United live, they just didn't look as good as Melbourne United. And they've probably come across as Melbourne United, I think, are the best team. Maybe Tassie are a bit better. They did just beat them. But I think this is a case of them against really good teams. I think they're going to be flat track bullies for those of you that are used to other ball sports out there. And I think that they're going to really beat down those really bad teams. But I think Tassie are just better than the Kings, and that's what we saw in this one.
Yeah, man. Valentine is still upset at him. 17 Supercoach points. That was abysmal. Like you talk, Matty, about sharing it around, and it feels like that. But you dig into the box score, Your Jalen Adams, your Denzel Valentines, they're still playing like 27, 28, 30 minutes. Like, it's enough time to do more than 17 Supercoach points, for God's sake.
He should be thinking of us when he's out on the floor. He should be thinking of the Supercoach fans when he's out on the floor.
100%.
Surely some of them do. You've got it. I guarantee some of the footy boys do. Absolutely.
I was watching this
thinking this one?
I was watching this thinking I might have had it wrong with Tui and Jalen Adams. Like, obviously Galloway was good. He was a cheapie, and the next game's probably a better one to talk about with Galloway. But I was just watching this, and Jalen Adams was so good. I think I might have got it wrong. Maybe I should have added Jalen Adams this week.
Jalen Adams is the kind of one where you're watching as an owner and go, shit, I got it wrong. And then, like, literally you go to the toilet, you come back and go, shit, booyah. Like, he just can absolutely light it up in such a small period of time that you just got to sit in, chill out, and, like, let him do his thing for the whole 4 quarters. I think I messaged you guys about 7 times, like, shit, I've got it wrong. I've absolutely cooked this. And you guys were just like, take a breath. And then I'm like, shit, I'm awesome. What a trade. Like, look at me. Like, yeah. But we'll move on to Perth Wildcats versus the Adelaide 36ers. It was looking like it was going to be an absolute cotton show, and it kind of was to a point, but it could have been bigger than it was. Wildcats getting up 82-75. I'll go to you on this one, Hammer. Wildcats and 36ers, who are you seeing?
Seeing cotton everywhere. 37 Supercoach points. And I actually saw, looking at some of the other teams, some guys played cotton on the single. So they've got the luxury this week, if they hold him on the double, there's an instant captain for you. He's, I don't know if I've got the cash to bring him in, but if you've got him, you'd be holding, wouldn't you?
Well, now you would. Absolutely. If you've got him now, you're holding him for sure. Absolutely. They go into their 2-game week this week. Then you'd start looking at from there. For somebody like myself who's made the move, I don't think it's one of those ones you can keep going back and forth. I think you got to commit to the pathway that you're on now. But if you've got him, 100% you're keeping him in this week for sure. Yeah. He just shows what he can still do.
The other one there was Alex Sarr, Matty's circle jerk friend. Yes. 28 points in 20 minutes off the bench. He's consistently good, isn't he? Has he missed a shot yet?
Yeah, he did miss a shot this game, but he's been good. Like, he's taking minutes away from Pinder, and I don't know if it was because they were playing the 36ers, which are the worst organization in the NBL at the moment, or he's just actually stealing some minutes.
Pinder fouled out as well. So Pinder fouled out during that game. So he definitely came on at the end. But I tell you what, when the pressure gauge came up, I was like, surely the Wildcats can't lose this game. But to Adelaide's credit, they actually came back, put the pinch on. They did the pick and roll at the top. They kept leaving Sarr basically at the hash. It just reminded me of a Mickey Dell on 2K, just like, you don't leave the big horse open at the hash, and he's just draining. But I tell you what, those 2 threes in a row were pretty impressive for someone of his age and what's coming next in that pressure gauge. I like what I saw a lot.
There's a lot of a young Kevin Garnett about him, right?
Ooh,
yeah,
that's big.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And I know you like to compare yourself to players too, Mattrix, but I know you've been called linguini arms tonight, but he's another one that once he hits the weight room, he's got a big future.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, no, I think he's good. Another one was maybe Harris off the bench before Henschel. Any concern or just what you expect with the 69K player?
Look, I think you're going to get what you're seeing. He's going to make him earn his minutes. He'll play inconsistent burn, but he's also still 69K, which, looking at my team makeup at the moment, I'm possibly bringing him in just because I can't fit any other guard forward guy under the cap. So, at that price, he's going to hold it, but he's not going to be playing the minutes if you're really after production.
Yeah, he's
I think if you ask him points.
I think he could sit on the bench for a little while on your team just because, like, he might explode. He's not hurting you. We know those, like, again, at his price at the moment, he might sit there for a little while. If they have a double game week and he gets the minutes, he could absolutely explode for you at that low price. He's not jacking up in price too quickly. off the back of some of his games. So, yeah, I think he's a hold and allows you to make some other moves for sure. Illawarra versus Southeast Melbourne. Illawarra getting the chocolates 113 to 106. I mean, is it Robinson, Mattrix? I mean, that's a massive 48-point score. I must admit, I didn't see this game, so I'm going to throw to you two. Other than seeing that score jump off at me, mate, take me through it.
Look, he's a target for me this week. The worst thing is one of his games is against Tasmania, which classically stifle his position. But look, realistically, he's a gun. He's a jet. If you're watching this game, he absolutely ripped him to shreds, and he was clutch.
I'm high on him. I've said this early on, like from what we saw of him in last year's preseason and the one game before he did his ACL or whatever he injured, this guy is made for this version of Supercoach. And massive target for this week, 48. It didn't look hard. Like that looks like he could replicate that week in, week out. Saying that he's playing against Tasmania, traditionally guys don't score well against them. However, he's very, very similar in the way he plays to a Jalen Adams, right? And what did Jalen Adams put up against the Jack Jumpers this round? A 35, was it? Like,
yep.
I think he's one of the guys who'll get it done no matter what. I'm very high on him.
Someone take me through Southeast Melbourne because I'm just looking at there and I know Cook was out. So you got Creek, Brown, Cummings, all going over 32 points. I mean, that's an explosion. Was it just like, is that what they had to offer? So they just kept giving them the ball, or what was happening to Southeast Melbourne?
That's all the guys that played over 30 minutes as well. They were in trouble. They needed this win. So they played their best guys, big minutes. Look, there's some questions popping in the chat, like, can we breathe without no air now? Yeah, I'm a bit off him. When he was starting, the production was there. I think he's going to go through these streaks, but this is Gary Brown and Will Cummings' team at the guard spot. Creek's going to do good things throughout the year. He still scored really well over this weekend, but I tell you what, any team that's starting vague is not going to go deep into any postseason. That guy, like, talk about the great white hope. That guy, yeah, man, he looked like he could get torn up at B grade in Toowoomba, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm just going to throw. Sorry, I'm just going to throw this one in here.
Illawarra can't defend. These scores are going up against a team where the coach Jacob Jackomas is playing 12 guys like it's under 12s, and he's trying to keep the parents happy. Like, man, this is not a good defensive team. So those numbers are slightly inflated.
I'm just going to throw this one from Matty Granger because we've talked about this name a few times on the show, and I'm going to throw it to Hammer because Hammer's the one that's brought up this name a few times and did give you the big warning beforehand. Surely I'm the only idiot who has Tarangi, and now I can't get rid of him. What are the chances of Phoenix doing the Haka pre-game? Hammer, I'm going to throw to you. I think, look, let's answer that question honestly. What does he do? Surely you got to get rid of Tarangi. Yeah,
look, man, I've got no sympathy for you, Matty. I've told you. What more can I do? This guy is untouchable. Shit. Come on. Listen to us. No, look, man, he baits you into it every year. He makes you think, oh, there's a little something coming here, and then he lays an egg. So it's understandable. Been there, done that. But, I'm burnt. I'm not going back again.
Let's go back to your Bullets, Matty. Bullets unluckily going down 89 to 86. Sobe came out with 31 points in the game, which alluded to 34 Supercoach points. From a can standpoint, again, we talked about Wardenberg, where he still put up a nice solid 22 Supercoach points. Miller with 32 Supercoach points, and Gak off the bench with 25. There's been a lot of talk about Gak at the start, and Gak now. Is he relevant, or be careful?
He's not relevant. I think he had one good game, to be honest. I don't think that we'll be seeing much of him throughout the year. This is Clintman, Wardenberg, Menenga's spot up there in the front. Even the intention of playing a Lat Mayan early, obviously he left. But, yeah, look, I won't be looking at Gak.
Yeah, Lat Mayan, his time's over now too. McCall came back, limited minutes, only put up the 6 Supercoach points, but that's another guy who's like the bloody Tasmanian devil out of the Looney Tunes. He's just 100 miles an hour, 15 turnovers to go with whatever other stat, but, rocks and diamonds, man. Sometimes he explodes and sometimes he gives you a negative. So
I would have loved for Taj McCall to, while he was still coming back from an injury, like just play 2 double game weeks and just become a lot cheaper. I'm a bit disappointed that he's got 2 weeks away from NBL and we won't be getting those, I suppose, those injury scores, maybe these drop-in minutes, because, by the time he's back, he will be playing a lot more than 17 minutes.
And at 350K, you can't touch him. No.
But Paddy Miller, I know that you were looking at bringing him in this week, Hammer. Didn't bring him in. No. Did you? A sigh of relief, or was kind of what you thought?
No, I was impressed with him. I'm really impressed with his biceps. Anyone else been checking those out?
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah,
they're
massive.
They're like 2 of mine. They're like 4 of mine taped together, according to Phil.
Man, it's like his biceps took a shit, and that's your biceps. Like, it's...
Mate, I've only been passed on one of your calendar photos, mate. So I've just been looking at your biceps the whole time, mate.
Where's this information come from?
Stay tuned for episode 12.
Look, Miller was great. It's exactly what I expected, and especially the minutes. He was playing high 30s with Armstrong out. The reason I went with Cummings instead was because of the schedule. I didn't want to have to trade him out this week with the 2 donuts coming up, and Miller is one of the only teams playing in that round 4. So if I can hold him on the bench for a week, Cummings is one of the only ones playing round 4. So that was it there. But I like what I see.
So we're coming to the last round, last game of the round. This is the time. Get those comments and questions. We'll make sure we get to as many questions as we can after we get through the rounds. This is the last one because I already brought one on the Sunday. Sydney versus Adelaide, 109-100. Kings getting it done. Big last quarter, 34-28 to get over the line. Hunter absolutely exploded in this one with 41 Supercoach points. Galloway even more so with 43. Valentine at least lifted his game to show us a little bit more about what he can do with 27. Adams with 33. Massive points from that side. But from an Adelaide side, McCarron with 35. And one that we've been talking about is Kell. You've talked a lot about him, Mattrix. Did you like what you saw here with his 39 Supercoach points?
Yeah, look, I liked what I saw. I just can't put any faith in anything coming out of Adelaide, not even their wines, to be honest. But Jacob Wiley was good too. But yeah, look, it's just really hard to even look at anyone with Adelaide. Their draw dries up a little bit now. So I might not own anybody from Adelaide all year.
Yeah, just out of protest. Look, they've announced that possibly an import imminent this week. So maybe that changes a few things as well. Maybe if he's an absolute start at $277 starting price, you may look when their schedule gets a bit better later on. But Valentine, he teased me. That first half, it's like a love-hate relationship with this guy. 21 Supercoach points at the half. Looked like he was going to go on with it and didn't. There were a few assists, like Tui just missed an absolute bunny from him, which had me yelling at the TV. But, like he's just tantalizingly close to putting it together, but frustratingly shit at the same time. So, that was the roller coaster I rode that whole game.
So that's our game wrap. We're going to move on to some questions.
Can I just go Can I just go Jordan Hunter and Jonah Bolden? Because what I hate was Jonah Bolden was the gun in the first Sydney game, and then Jordan Hunter was the gun in the second Sydney game. Like, you see Jordan Hunter getting 41 Supercoach points in 20 minutes, and you just start to go, wow, this is a guy I need to add. He's on a double next week. But you can't trust it with Jonah Bolden there because they'll just ride the hot hand, I think, in that center spot. And they can't play beside each other from what I saw.
I'm sure you'll be able to make a reference from an NRL standpoint, but it's no different to people choosing their rucks in an AFL Supercoach standpoint. If you know that there's a good If if you know, or anyone who's listening along that plays AFL, they'll understand what I'm saying. Any team that you know has a good backup ruck, you don't trust them. When you've got someone like a Tim English or someone that's the lone ruck, you know you're going to get consistent points. Their floor ain't that low and their ceiling is still high. So from that Hunter component, yeah, his ceiling might be up there, but his floor could be so low if they go to Bolden and give him the minutes. So yeah, you got to be careful.
Man, Hunter is a concern. He reminds me a lot of Space Jam, the original. You know when like they get all their powers sucked out by the aliens? Like that's how he looks sometimes. Some games he forgets how to catch the ball. Like you don't know which guy's going to turn up. He's like the Sean Bradley out of that movie.
I forgot what the special juice was they got. Someone will write it in the comments. Let us know the special juice they got. The
Mike's special stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, this is the time. Make sure we throw the comments in the chat. I'd like to give a shout out. If you'd like to support the show, make sure you hit subscribe and like on YouTube. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, make sure you hit the follow button and leave us a review. It's that love that keeps the show alive. So, guys, please make sure if you haven't done that already, now is the time to do that. I'm going to throw to Mattrix in a bit to start talking about our community team and how our community team went. And then let's tee up the first couple of questions, Mattrix, as well after you do that. Let's go.
Yeah, so we got 309 this week on the community team. So in our Discord, it'll be in the comments, a link to our Discord. Everybody's been getting involved and voting as to what the I suppose the trade should be in the upcoming week. And this week, they got 309. We voted on Doyle to be the captain, and our season rank is 388. So, if you'd like to pop in our Discord, have a little bit of a chop in there. Look, it's just a heap of people shit talking. You can get spicy with some trades that you might not be game to do in your own team. And, if people like your comment enough, we'll do it on our community team. And if we manage to win a week, we'll donate it to charity. So
love that. We'll go to some questions.
What's that?
What's your charity of choice?
Oh, I haven't chosen yet. Maybe the guide dogs are hearing that.
All right, we're going to go out to the community now. Drop those questions in. They can be trade related. They can be basketball related. They can be Hammer's Tinder profile related. Anything you want, throw it in there. Big shout out to David Bryson, coach of Too Many Cooks. Thoughts on Cotton as a defensive play versus Cotton owner in 2 head-to-heads. Alternatively, is there someone with a better draw break even that can replicate the output? Mattrix?
Look, I'm probably going to be looking at bringing Cotton in this week. But you could look at somebody like a Doyle or a Sobey. Honestly, I thought Cotton would be a little bit of a pod play to everybody bringing in Sobey this week if I brought him in. So, I don't mind bringing in Cotton, but you've got to really have faith in your other guys there. You have a pretty well-rounded team. You beat me by 1 point, but I would probably I'd probably go Sobey and have a dig at winning. So,
yep. I like that as well. Have a crack. Sometimes I also don't think this is the type of competition that you can just base your moves on your head-to-heads, because you've got to think forward to the schedule. You could go make a move based on a head-to-head, and you could absolutely stuff up your future planning. So be careful with that. Don't get sucked into the head-to-heads. I like Mattrix as well with your comment there. Go for the win. Go for the glory. We just sort of touched on this a little bit, but Sobey's in there. Thoughts on Nathan Sobey and Justin Robinson for Cook and Miller? I'll go to you, Hammer, on this one. Thoughts on Corey Blackledge's comment? Oh, you're on mute, my friend. We're stuck in COVID time.
There we go. Keep going.
There we go. We're back. You're on.
Yeah. Look, we got to get rid of Cook and Miller. That's a no-brainer. Miller's on a donut. Cooks is cooked. Sobey and Justin Robinson, if you can bring both in, that's a power move. I think they're both going to be doing well. What you need to look towards, though, is the next round. So both are on singles the next round. And round 4 is going to be critical. This is going to separate the men from the boys. So round 4, we only have Melbourne United, Southeast Melbourne, and Adelaide on a double. All right. So if we're trying to aim to keep our whole starters on doubles, have a look at the rest of your squad, what your bench is like, and how that's going to play out.
So we talked about no Adelaide ownership. So you're talking about a full starting list of Melbourne and Southeast Melbourne. Is that where we're going for, Hammer? Or Mattrix? That was you.
It'll be close.
Is McCarron someone you can touch?
No.
No.
Nope.
Ooh. Didn't get any of them excited. Okay.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, no.
No,
I'm not punching the bottom of my desk there. Yeah.
I love a one-word answer. Thoughts on Robinson? We've touched on this one, looking at mainly for cash. We sort of just touched on Robinson there.
Not even just for cash, Jen. Just get him to get buckets.
You'll get both out of him. He's going to go up. He hasn't hit his 3 games yet. He's good.
Few names coming up. They're always going to come up. We've got a few extra ones in this one. Shout out to Corey again. Who do I play this? Valentine or Saar or Justin Robinson or Dellavedova, as I have 9 of my 10 players on doubles this week. So Valentine, Saar, Robinson, Dellavedova.
Robinson, Dellavedova.
You're off the Valentine train, aren't you, mate? I'm going to bring up some recordings last week. You were all over him like a fly on a shit.
He's sitting with Taron Armstrong.
I think from what I can see there is he's probably got Justin Robinson and Delhi in the guard spot. So he needs to play Justin Robinson or Delhi, which I would select Justin Robinson, especially with Delhi only getting 20 minutes with Ian Clark coming back from injury. And I would still probably play Valentine before Saar.
Yeah.
No,
I think that's a no-brainer for me. I agree with that. This is an interesting question. Look, we've got to answer it. I think it's a straightforward answer here. Is Travers a sell or worth holding for another week? I'll throw it to you, Matty, but I think it's an easy answer, this one.
Yeah, just keep him. The guy's a gun. He got 22 last week. If he gets 22 in the next 2 games, he gets you 44, which you're going to be happy 9 times out of 10. So maybe just don't captain him. Yeah.
Shout out to Max McDonald. Who should I start out of Hunter, Huckporty, or Saar at the center this round? I think it's the man in the middle for me.
Sorry, it cut off. I just thought it said, who should I start out of Hunter, Huckporty, Saar at center this round? And why is it Huckporty?
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
No.
It's got to be Huckporty. That's the only logical answer. Huckporty's a gun.
Yeah.
I'll keep going along. What have I got here? Sobey and Robinson, Miller and Cook. I think we read that one a little bit. Play out Saar versus Valentine. I think we've touched on that one a little bit. Here we go. Who else is trading in Adam Ford to get a bit of toughness in the team? Over to you, Hammer.
Well, there's a few places his services could be of value. Like Adelaide's soft. They could use a bit of Ford to rough things up. Your Wildcats faded down the stretch. They could use a bit of Adam Ford.
Yeah. I heard he could be fighting Tavita Pangai Jr. next week. So, I could get Adam Ford in. I like it.
So we've touched on our schedule chat. I think we've already touched on that. So the double games, we've obviously got Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Sydney. Hammer already touched on it for next week, only being Melbourne, Southeast Melbourne, and Adelaide. So just to start to think about that. Probably one last thing that we'll finish on, guys. We'll give a little sneak peek into what's going to come on Wednesday. Any early trade thoughts on what you're doing? I'll go to you, Hammer, first. Have you started thinking about your possible trades this week?
Yeah, look, I'll bring in a guard, either a Sobey or a Robinson, and depending on which one I bring in will be what I can do with my second trade. But I'll be looking to offload Cooks and Menenga.
Mattrix?
Due to Cooks in there, I'm probably going to be looking at maybe getting rid of Cooks and Creek just to fund a big guy like a Jalen Adams or a Cotton or even a Sobey. If I can afford both of them, I might even bring in 2 of those because I've got those duels. I've got Travis and Valentine. I can move up into the forward and, looking to really chase those big points this week.
I might be in a little bit of trouble this week because I'm sort of looking at going, and I'm just kind of having a look at it now, and I think the app's kind of playing up a little bit.
That's not what caused the score.
Cook to Huck Porty, but it's telling me that at the end of that, I've only got about 60,000 in cash left. That's probably about right. And then the other move I have to make is, do we know of any cheapies at the moment? Because I'm going to have to move Antonio out of my side now. I just wanted to have a cheeky look. I'll maybe throw to you, Hammer. You're pretty good for somebody outside of the box. If you've only got a little bit of cash, where's the money at the moment?
I don't know. It depends what position. Olbrich, if you don't have him, he hasn't hit his price rise yet. He had 18 last game. He's looking good. Galloway from Adelaide has been solid. He had a good price rise up to about 100K now. You talked about Gak before. I don't mind the look of him at 69K. Nice. Might be a little bit more now. There's a few around.
Yeah. Nice.
But
I'm going to have to look at that. That'll be the move for me. I think it'll be a pretty simple move this week for me, which is the Huck Porty is just a no-brainer, I think, especially with their schedule coming up. Cook has to come out, and then Antonio with their double donuts. I'll have a look at that and see what I can do. It might be one of those ones that I take a donut for a week and then make another move later, and we'll have a look from there. But look, getting excited for our Wednesday show. Maddie, I've seen you click on one there, and it's not a bad little question. Do you want to throw that one up?
Can we answer a few of these questions coming in at the end? I have noticed they've sort of flown in during the end. So if anyone's got to go. But I'm happy to answer. Like, is it too late to add Jalen Galloway at 177K now after he just rose in price a lot in the last week? Hammer, what do you think?
I'm torn, man. Like, I feel like it's a now or never. Like, I don't think once he gets up over 200K, which he probably will after the next price rise, I think then he hasn't got the value because the schedule fades and Hogue comes back. But in its current form, he's producing some serious numbers. So, yeah, jump on now or forget about it.
I reckon you can still add him. He's got a break even of 6. He's got a double game week. I'm comfortable to have him sit on my bench in those single game weeks for Sydney as well at that price. And also, I just want him to pump up that price a little bit further. So when Hogue's back, I can move him to a genuine gun. So, right, I think Jalen Galloway all the way.
If he gets up a little more in price and you can offload him for close to a new import price, you can start to look at potentially these teams who are bringing in new imports, and you've turned, what did he say, 123 or something into, you've doubled your money.
Yeah. You could bring in Jeremy Lamb. Sorry, wrong one. You could bring in Lamb from New Zealand, and he looks like I've watched a fair bit of him. Another host of the NBA show, and off the ball, he can light it up. Like, has a great 3 ball. I think you're going to get these games where he scores a lot of points. Like, I think that there's going to be a game where he scores 50. But I think when he shots off, kind of, I suppose, similar to someone like Jordan Usher. When he shots off, he's not going to be fantastic. He's not super athletic. He moves very well off the ball. But, yeah, I think that he could be somebody that you get in before those price rises and maybe move Jalen Galloway to someone like that.
He'll be a good fit for the Breakers, but you're right, man. There is no athleticism. He couldn't jump over a phone book.
Yeah. He's like me playing basketball if we want to get some comparisons.
Another comparison. I love it.
There's a few more.
So 11 of the top 12 players by average are guard eligible. I think you talked about this one when we first jumped on the pod, Hammer, bringing you across from fantasy to Supercoach land. Is this format too friendly to the shot-heavy guards?
Yeah. I think the balance has swung so far in the opposite direction. The old fantasy format had big bonuses for your double-doubles and your rebounds. Offensive rebounds were a premium and blocks. And so you'd load up on your big guys. But this format, especially where it doesn't punish you for missing shots, your volume guys are going to be gold. Your Jalen Adams, your Justin Robinsons, your Sobies, the guys who do a little bit of everything but just get shots up. I mean, look at the biggest Supercoach scores of the last round. You know, Sobey had 31 points in one of the game, actual points, and finished with about 34 fantasy points. Justin Robinson, Mitch Creek had 23 actual points and 25 Supercoach points. It's kind of where it's going towards.
Yeah, I love it. I just think that we need to get these guards in. And the sooner you realize that, like, you're just going to build up to get these really big guard heavy. And those guards that are small forward eligible, I think that we will find them in, like, draw permitting, we'll find them in our teams a lot towards the end of the year.
I personally would love them. Yeah, I'd love them to personally bring in a little bit of a deficit for missed shots. I think that'll balance the equation a little bit. That's for me. I think that gets the purists to maybe get involved a little bit more as well. Doesn't have to be a massive punishment, but I think a little bit of something. Because I go back to my comments about Valentine that we made last week. I know that, yeah, it's great that he can get his points on the board without actually physically scoring the ball. But, like, you're just looking for guys that are shooting the rock to just give you a little bit of comfort.
They had the balance right with the old fantasy format where I think it was every second field goal you missed, you lost 1 point. I feel like that brings it back into check.
Nah, fuck them. Just let them jack as many shots as they want, and just pick up all the guys that have the ball in their hand the whole time.
And the way you
NBL Supercoach a clip. Yeah, NBL Supercoach is going to clip that.
I'd be -12, 0-10.
It's your show. It's your show. I'm letting you click in whatever you want, mate. My hands are
round 4, McCarron captain. Yes or no?
Is no or no an option?
No cojones.
I say not a captain, but I'm still on that. McCarron is relevant if you're having to pick an Adelaide player. That's where I'm at.
What? It is a pod play because nobody with any brain would do it.
Yeah, look, if you had to pick an Adelaide player, yeah. But the funny thing about it is, Rob, you don't have to pick an Adelaide player, and nor should you. That's
this is good. I like it. We can't sit here and just have a circle jerk every week, boys. Do you know what I mean? We have to sometimes tell each other, look, I think someone's relevant. I could be completely wrong. You know what? I am the tennis player. That's fine. Maybe I know nothing, but we'll see. I'm going to ride it for as long as I can. I am higher ranked than both of you, so shut the F up. Woo! Let's go, McCarron. Woo!
Bring him in and watch Ben Ayre score more than him that week.
I told you let this one go too long. This is what happens.
Looking a bit ahead to all the Adelaide people that we hate, but Wiley and Humphreys worth a look for round 4. I got a bit turned off by how many turnovers Wiley got in the last week. And I suppose Humphreys is going to get rebounds when everybody shoots this bad.
Yeah, that round 4 double for Adelaide is surrounded by 2 singles. So if you're bringing them in, you're bringing them in for a 1-week rental, and there's both your trades tied up on the way in and the way out. So I'm not looking at it.
I don't mind Wiley. I won't bring him in. I don't mind him, though. He passes the eye test for me.
Yeah. We touched it before, but I'm starting Valentine over Saar, Liam. What are you guys doing?
I don't hold Saar, but I would start Valentine over him just because the minutes are there. The roles there. Saar is sort of getting that 6th or 7th man kind of role, but it's fluctuating between that sort of 12 to 20 minutes, and he's just been hyper productive and hasn't missed a shot, but he's got to come back to earth at some point.
You're guaranteeing a guy who's got the ball in his hand for 27, 28, possibly over 30 minutes compared to somebody that can have a high ceiling. I'm taking the consistent player every single week.
Yeah.
Phil's got one, more of a statement than a question for you, Rob.
I have a lot of love for the guy. I have a lot of love for the guy. The receipts still say that I'm getting it right 95% of the time over him. Cam Bancroft, GWS, the list continues on. Play on, player.
But yeah,
Phil. I love you so much, Phil. And you're not wrong. He probably is definitely a must-have in the NBL on Supercoach. Absolutely. I'm just having a bit of fun with the boys, mate. I can tell you now, McCarron ain't coming in my team. Let's be very clear right now.
Yeah. And it's about time that the Mattrix started getting some love, as we see in the comments.
I think this is clearly your fake account.
I think once we start seeing these comments like this, I can spell a bit better than that. But I think when we start seeing some comments like this, it's probably time to start wrapping up the show.
Yeah, we're getting into some quality chat. We will bring it back with some quality chat on Wednesday when we start looking at who the players are that you should be bringing in, making sure we look at the schedules. What are our teams looking like before we go into round 3. I think there's some big moves to make, some abilities to jump up and down the league table. We'll be giving away standard squeeze packs. If you're our squeeze of the week, make sure you jump in our league, 680-481. Hammer, any final favorite words from you?
I just want to give a shout out to Phil. I get a good chuckle every time I look at his team, the Fielder Beasts. It's I love it. Give it up, big fella.
I helped him name that one.
Some of your best work, Mattrix.
Yeah. Over to you, Matty. Last words, Mr. SC Mattrix.
No.
Nothing. Wow. Mark down this point. Mark down this point right now. I tell you what, I'm getting rid of this final words. Mickey Dell on the AFL podcast always gives me some classic final words. You two need to lift your game. You need to be ready for these final words as we go around. Big shout out to the community. We saw so many viewers on. We saw some great comments. We've had a good time. This is what we're here for, is to have a bit of a laugh while hopefully bringing you some genuine quality conversation at the same time and expertise. Guys, until Wednesday when we bring you the second show of the week on Inside Fantasy Sport Podcast. Until then, peace out.
Cheerio.